Hello darlings, I'm back, and after the video I did on Sunday, was it, or Saturday? I did it on Sunday. Sunday was the 16th, and I was talking about the new moon that we just had on the 17th. Sun and moon, black moon on Pollux, the Geminis, Romulus and Remus, and Mercury, the ruler, was in Cancer, 69. And then we had that day the death of Jane Birkin, and then all over the newspapers for the black moon on the 17th, we've got Goodbye Jane. So that's the GG. I always tell you about G for goodbye, J for Jane, and that is Jour J. That is Gregorian Julian calendar, and we saw that Jane has the chart. She has the chart of that southwest, northeast, and she is rising, she is right on this equinox of Aldebaran and Antares. So we're going to be having the next eclipse right here. So I don't know why I think Scorpio, I think maybe in mainstream, but we're going to have on the 28th a partial lunar eclipse, so a full moon in Pisces, feminine axis of the mutable cross. Sun both with Mercury and Mars. Mercury and Mars conjunct. Just in Libra. Well, who's in Libra? Mercury, Mars, both in Libra. So that's the 28th eclipse. And then on the 14th, is it the 14th? Yes, the 14th. We've got Sun, Moon, Mercury and Mars, all for the blue star to rise La Marianne. So we've just had the black moon in Gemini, the twins. Jane Birkin lost her daughter Kate from her first husband John Barry, the same as this film I've been telling you about, Jean de Barry, who did the James Bond films 007. And so she was left only with two daughters. So herself, she had three daughters from three different men. An Englishman, John Barry, did all the music of James Bond. Then Serge Gainsbourg, who is from Russian. He escaped Russia, his family, from the revolution. He is Russian, Turkish, Ukrainian descent. And then her last husband, French. So you can see that Eastern energy, and the three daughters are the three sisters, the triple goddesses. And Kate died, and that left the 777, the three phases of the moon, the deadly mother, Kate, Jane, and Charlotte, and Lou. So in a way, Romulus twins, is there something, going on with this feminine axis and bringing up, as I've always been showing you, the La Marianne. This is La Marianne and the two sides of the coin, the English rose and the French side. So the bitch and the beach, rose red and rose white. That is what we then have on the 28th. On the 28th with the partial lunar eclipse, 28, 29 it is, with the sun in Virgo and the moon, so 28 in Aries. But if we go back a bit, is this 28th one going to be in Aries, Libra, or let's see, the moon is at what here? The moon is illuminated 99.6 in Pisces, and the sun is in Virgo. So Jane Birkin's chart, we've got Mars, Saturn, Uranus making this arc, Uranus making an opposition with North Node in Taurus, South Node in Scorpio, Sun in Scorpio. We should do a proper check. 14th of December 1946, December 14th, doesn't matter about the time. That sun is definitely in Scorpio, and Mars definitely in Sagittarius. So, you know, this is right on this galactic gap. It's right on the thigh of the hero, Ophiuchus, the sexual energy, the green god coming in, and the arrow, the absolute point of the dart of D'Artagnan that goes into the fertility, taking away the fertility, so, and killing this Scorpio energy. And we've got the rose, Taurus. So 2 years ago in 2020, I was sent an email by a production company working to do a documentary for the BBC about the death of this model that was a model of my mother, who was killed, they say, by the brother Jeremy Bamber. So this is JB, the JB pillars again, and he apparently killed his sister, two twin boys, or two boys, and the parents. So that's 5 people, the 5-pointed star. And she was known as Bambi, the Bambi killer. So I didn't know about this. I have a vague souvenir. My mother never spoke to me about it. I told the people that my mother had passed away, and that their investigation was ridiculous because JB just represents the solar lunar pillars, Boaz Jacquin, and the story will go much deeper. And they were very nice and polite, and I think they were genuinely just looking to do. But then it was just a few weeks later, after that email, that my son-in-law's brother took his life, and he was the same initials, JB, as well. And that happened, if we look at 2020, and I know that it happened when the sun was bang right in the middle of where Venus is about to go retrograde. So it was when the sun was here. So it was around that date. The sun was right between where we've now got Mars and Venus about to go retrograde here. This is Sol O Mon. This is the seal of Solomon. And he took his life, then followed by my son-in-law, very much in as the story of Pollux and Castor, where we had this black moon for the departure of Jane. And you see, I mean, you know, I'm not going to spell it out deeper than that. You either get it. So that time Venus was here as well. And we had, so I was married in that year at 17 years old, and I was sent the night before I did the video on Sunday, before finding out about Jane Birkin, 87 photos sent from my great friend, who is the great-granddaughter of Juliet Cameron. I was looking into, there's a book I've just ordered, which is written about him, which talks all about what was going on in the White House. So yes, she was killed in, the house was called the White House, and the White House is the name, obviously, in America of the president's home, but it's also the name of Juliet Cameron's house, Freshwater Bay, Isle of Wight. So we've got rose red, rose white, and there is the house, the White House, and the bay of where Juliet Cameron, my best friend's great-great-grandmother, who adopted and took my great-grandmother on as a slave. So you've seen all these pictures. This is in the National Gallery. This is Mary Ryan. This is the 5-pointed star, but turned upside down with an imposter. That northeast, the green god, the imposter, and all the other children are looking in other directions. So Mary Ryan, I was saying the other day, that's just like Mary, but Mary Ryan is with an N instead of an M. It's just an anagram of Mary, and that makes the Melody Nelson MN. Mary Ryan. And so you've got Ari, A-R-Y with an M-N, Harry, Ari, Ra, Mars, and the M-N of Melody Nelson. So there was also the story of my friend Henrietta and I, who we've been friends since we were small children. There's all a big connection. We were all in Holland Park. We met in a school in Holland Park, Norland Place. And it was my friendship with Henrietta and one other girl called Jemima that scared my mother so much. And I would think this with her model being killed, and it was all part of her reasons of marrying me. But very much as my mother, or the mother of Mary Ryan, they always talk about her. So you see, it's Mayday, Kate, Kitty, Mary Ryan, Kate. We've got Kate and William. You know, I think there's to come some kind of revolution in England. And you know, Julia Cameron was all part of the clique of this whole new age, and it may not have been bad. It may have been, you know, a real, you know, somehow Henrietta and I were meant to come together. We had this third friend, and I hadn't seen her for 30 years because I was married, and for exactly a cycle of Saturn, 30 years, she died, and I decided to go to the funeral to accompany Henrietta in the Isle of Wight. She was from a family in the Isle of Wight. Her surname was Norman, the Normans, and none of us spoke about Julia Cameron. Henrietta may have mentioned to me, but because I'd made no connection with Mary Ryan, I had no idea. I hadn't worked it out yet that our great-grandmothers were connected like this, that I was the adopted child of Juliet Cameron, taken from my own mother on Putney Heath. But I used to love that book of 101 Dalmatians, 101. That's LOL, that's 77. And it was on it was Primrose Hill, not Putney Heath, no. But I do have a feeling that one of my great friends is this girl here, and she was from Putney. So Jane Birkin, JB, dies on the 16th of the 7th, and then the day after, on the 777, the news comes out all over France. Not everyone was aware straight away. So here we've got the hats, the Seine in Paris, and we've got the Eiffel Tower right here, and we've got 7th arrondissement and 16th arrondissement, red pill, blue pill. It's the right and the left, the two sides of the brain, and we've got the hat from the Little Prince. Hat. Prince hat, there is the hat, there is the elephant or the boa constrictor, the snake, the Milky Way. The Arc de Triomphe was an elephant, and then remember, I've covered it so much. An elephant without a trunk, and the hat. This is the cat, this is the hat. And the Milky Way closing, and the Hierophant is the elephant. Nelly the elephant packed her trunk. Off she went to the circus. We go from Nelly to LN, NLLN. This fresh water, you see they're showing this picture that I covered in an old video of the Victoria Fort. Let's show it, that little picture there. Fort Victoria Country Club. There is that cannon, the can. There are two cans. Freshwater Bay, Isle of Wight, Victoria Fort. I certainly fought. So images, Fort Victoria Country Park, freshwater, all you need to know. Nestled between woods and beach at the water's edge, the remains of the Victorian fort now host visitor attractions and a cafe. So here we got a D'Artagnan figure. And you've got these two cannons, look, we've got of the fish. I have covered it in the Isle of Wight tour, the tour, Hidden Gems. You know, we have covered, so this third friend was her funeral. She died quite a long time before the funeral, and the funeral was exactly 1 o'clock at St. Helen's Church, where there's a labyrinth, as where I live, the five-pointed star. My village is the five-pointed star. I'm on the 0 degree ley line, meridian line, and yeah, so this is all quite a big thing, me talking about this. And it was the day that Saturn officially entered Sagittarius. For us, he entered Sagittarius. It was the date. It was the winter solstice, the 21st of the 12th. And on mainstream Saturn was entering Capricorn, but it was in 2017, Saturn was entering Sagittarius. And it had been 30 years that I hadn't seen her. So it was exactly that cycle. But luckily, I didn't know everything I know now, because that would have protected me. I wasn't ready to know. So then we had, in 2022, I covered this, a boy called Ryan, a Moroccan boy who falls in a well. He's 5 years old, and the Moroccan, look there, we've got the cat, and I showed you at the time, it's the cat on a hot tin roof, the moon energy, the lunar energy, Ryan's parents, so it's like Saving Private Ryan. Ryan means little king. 5-year-old boy has been trapped since Tuesday, so it was all very symbolic at the time I covered it. And that Morocco is that five-pointed star. So now on 7 News, I have been told about this by somebody on Facebook, otherwise I wouldn't find out about all this. A large metallic cylinder, exactly like I showed you, Solomon's seal. This is the vessel sank. Sank is 5 in French. CINQ, sank. with 5 people in it, and it's now come up in Australia. So from these 2 triangles, always the winter-summer triangle, it's come up down under in Oz. This is the genie. This is the story of the fisherman and the genie. The fisherman is Fomalhaut, Pisces, that passage through the Vesica Pisces. So we've now got the genie coming up for this period of Venus's retrograde. The sun is going to go into Cancer on the 21st of the 7th. That's 7777. The 3 7s and 1. This is 7 News, 7th seal. And people are saying this isn't true, but it doesn't matter. They're saying that it's come from the Boeing 777. So we had, I completely forgot of just how much I've been talking about Jane Birkin. I had done in my last video from the 7th of July, 7/7. We had in the village next to me, a few days before we had had on the, I can't keep up with everything. So on the 3/7, we had the full moon in Gemini, Sagittarius, and then on the 7/4 we had, that was in my village, the Tour de France, and then a couple of days after, so I just copied what I had written from the 7th. Here it is, 7th attack today, and today is 7/7. That makes 777. And Pluto retro from Black Capricorn enters yellow. Melody Nelson's column. So the spine, this is the most famous track of Melody Nelson. So I had also posted, so this post, and I'm posting the Jane Birkin pillars, the temple, Solomon's temple. Talking about this bird, Edith Piaf was known as the sparrow. This is the girl, this is the bird, this is the high priestess, the medulla, between the temples, Solomon's temples. We've got the triple goddesses, the moon, Taurus, and 2, we've got the 5 of Venus and the bowl. So that was the journey from Montmarsan to Bordeaux, which is 33, the 33rd spine. Yes, where I was for the fourth corner. So mirroring what happened in New Zealand, the closing of the box. And yeah, I'll show you the story, the genie story, but it's very much. So I'd been posting this as the 7th of July, 33 1/3. That's that northeast angle. From Jerusalem. Jerusalem, where I live, is the Gers, German, Jerusalem. Jane Birkin, Black Moon in Gemini, Jack and the Beanstalk. So this I had posted on the 6th of May, and it was a lunar eclipse. So I just can't keep up with remembering everything. So solar and lunar, yes, the 5th, 6th of May, that was the famous 5-6. 5-6, 56, and Jane Birkin dies 7-6, that is 13 as well. That is that Ophiuchus 13th sign coming up between Sagittarius and Scorpio right there. So I had posted this from the 6th of May, and it's all because it was the eclipse. And this is the famous song Melody Nelson, and I never forget when my husband brought this album home and lay down. We had a big penthouse in Cornwall. I've covered Cornwall. Cornwall Gardens. And it was two buildings, the top floor, and he lay down and he played that, and he went into a kind of a trance. And because it was, you know, I didn't even know who Jane Birkin really was yet. I didn't understand the fantasy that he was living with me, and, you know, living out this fantasy. I even, the first time I ever met him, he came to pick me up with a chauffeur in his Rolls Royce. This is what this is all about, Romulus and Remus, 4x4 wheel drive. I better turn the music off. But this animation, which is quite dark, it shows... so, you know, it's Beauty and the Beast all the time, BB. His first, before Jane Birkin, he was with Brigitte Bardot, and there is the Nike that loses her head with her wings, that I've covered so much as well. There's three, the triple goddesses and his lighter. And I was just looking at another so this is Jane Birkin dancing away, doing her dance to music from Melody Nelson. And at the end of this clip, so she's in a cage, she's now got yellow, blue and reds, she's in the bird cage, and then we get the lyrics. So Melody wanted to see the sky of Sunderland, and that will go very deep, but I'm not going to add that in now. She took the 707 plane, night cargo. Yeah, it gives you the translation there. So we've got at the same time this plane coming up, the Boeing, and that's another story with my mother and her models. There was a famous plane crash, two British models killed, London, Paris. Air France flight 447 plane crashed and killed London. Turkish Airlines flight 981. It was a trip between London and Paris, and it was when I was a small girl, and my mum had a premonition dream, and I was very young, but she shared this dream that she heard the girls screaming in her dream, and then she found out. So okay, well, I don't think this is that flight, but that's pretty incredible, everything they're saying about this Turkish Airlines flight from Istanbul to Paris, Orly. It was known as the Armagnac air disaster, so I know that forest just outside Paris. That was right in Oise, where I used to live. O-I-S-E, Oise. It's pronounced Oise. That's like the goose, the diving duck. So it was in 1977, the 27th of March. So I don't know if it was that one. I don't think it was. The deadliest altogether, including 9/11, DC-10. So back to this, which is what I was showing you the last time. The cylinder is covered in barnacles, suggesting it drifted in the ocean for some time. They think it comes from Boeing 777. And this happened on the same day as that black moon we've just had on the 17th. So here are some more pictures of it. This is my friend who shared this with me, and he added the picture from my post. of last videos. They've got Saturn and Mars, the bottom and the top of the chakra system, the Pisces, and this Solomon's seal. It's the breast of Venus, it's the tit, it's the top of the mosque. (1993), an Indian rocket. And there has also been a mermaid. So a mermaid which is coming up in Queensland. So Pisces mermaid, and in Europe we've got the Black Madonna, we've got the dark side, we've got, so look at this. A mermaid alien, Medusa. Looks like a dead seal sea lion. So Edith Piaf, the voice, she was known as the Sparrow. And I just write about the medulla here. About the medulla, the voice box. This is very good. Hatred is made from love. All feelings ultimately arise from love and are an expression of love. But when love is filtered through the sense of separation, it comes out as hatred. So the stuff that hatred is made of is still love. The stuff, it can be, he's going too fast for me, consciousness, but basically he's talking about filters. If there's no sense of separation, that love is pure. So if it's filtered through a thick layer, a thick belief and feeling of separation, the same love will come out the other side of that feeling as hatred. So that is exactly that. So this, I add pictures since Jane Birkin. It's not complicated, it's just a passage some won't get through. The genie is the ninja, same word. And the fisherman, age of Pisces, Saturn on Fomalhaut, opposite Mars in Leo. The lion lies down with the thalamus. That's simple, or tempted by the genie. Black moon was in Gemini, Pollux, magician, boxer, ring, squared, cercueil. Venus closes, five-pointed star flower, 8-year cycle before eclipse closure. 2024, last retro between Sol, Leo, Sun and Mon, Cancer, Moon. Between 22nd of July, Sun moves into Cancer, the 21st, 69, and moves out on the 3rd of September. That day I'll always remember, Temptations, 40 days, 40 nights. So I was been sharing stuff from the weeks before, so I wrote that for the solstice. That we had the 007. The yellow submarine in Plaisance next to me on this river, which is next to Jubelock, Jude's Bollocks, Jane Birkin, JB, and I wrote, that's what I wrote, Jubelock, Jude's Bollocks, the Boaz Jacking Pillars, Acker, JB, BJ, Jane Birkin, Bridget Jones, James Bond and Boris Johnson. Marks the solstice, winter, summer, and the river runs through. Cars, Gemini, twins, pillars. Mercury, the sun is between Gemini, cars and Taurus, Mose, cow, leaving Gemini, Sagittarius axis for Taurus, Scorpio, which is all Jane Birkin's axis. So I really had been talking about it. And we've got, who just told me today, so I'm talking here about Mose, cow, Taurus is Mose, cow, Moscow, leaving Gemini, Sagittarius axis for Taurus, Scorpio as we moved on to the fixed cross and leave the mutable cross. Jen, MJ, Jupiter, Mercury, Jazz in Marseille at solstice. So yeah, the Olympic torch is going to come to Jazz in Marseille this summer. Jazz in Marseille is JMMJ. I've explained where I live. Miranda. It was Henry Cotton that met Mary Ryan in Paris when she was modelling as Miranda. And that is where I was in Tauranga. And Tauranga is the parrot on the shoulder of of the pirates. There's the volcano, the torch, and I showed you that house, maps. I showed you there is Merlin and the torch. So where I am is just exactly as this is just the same mirror reflection, and that is the canary, the medulla, that is Merlin. This is this time of, can you take the control of your unconscious reactions, the medulla. And I showed you last time at the sulfur points, we had the closing of the four corners. Sulfur point on the sea, salt, with the children, mercury, sulfur, salt. Was the other thing that I had shared. So that's what I'd written, but when you share a news article, a Rolls-Royce driver ploughed over a 3 million Damien Hirst sculpture on the Palm Beach lawn of a prominent collector couple, ArtNet News, and it was somewhere also important, and that I was talking about Jane Birkin, Melody Nelson. You know, a hearse is to carry a funeral and knock that over. A Rolls Royce, a 66, of course, year old driver crashed her Rolls Royce on the property. We've got the Virgo and the Lion, the Sphinx. Oh, it was the Sphinx as well. My goodness. Look at this. So this is exactly what he sings in the song of Melody Nelson, is the crash of the Rolls Royce. Bam, 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 melds. And you see the bicycle, the children, the teddy bear, changing the axis of the North Polaris. And there's the girl with the short red hair, like in The Fifth Element. We've got Lulu, and if you look at the songs of the daughter of Jane Birkin, Charlotte, Deadly Valentine, that's the flooding I lived in. Deadly Valentine, I've covered this for years and years. This song came out in 2017 in her album Saturn. It's not Set, it's something else. But so you've got the child, you've got the two sides, the Boaz of the Jacqueline pillars, the black sun and the moon, and you've got, then she brings in her daughter plays the role. Charlotte is married to a very famous Serge Gainsbourg film director in France. So, and her husband here, and Ivan Attal. So, this is her husband. This famous clip that I always showed you for many years. There we've got GC, Goodbye Jane, Jour, José Garcia, and he comes to Antoine de Caunes, very well known in England as well. He used to do a show with Jean-Paul Gaultier, and they just spend the whole time laughing because he had sent him a text saying, "J'encule the Beatles, I fuck the Beatles," and that made them laugh a lot. And this actor played in a very well-known comedy in France called La Vérité si je mens, The Truth if I'm lying. And I've been over in old videos 4 years ago about showing the Rose. They produce clothes in an area of Paris, and they say export, get rid of all the English, Pop, 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 Popeye, Mary Poppins, and it's just them laughing, orange, black, orange, and it was just very telling. Back to Charlotte Gainsbourg, and she plays the last part, and they run through the gates that we're going through, and then you have old age. So it's the 4 stages of the moon again. You go through the gates, you've got the child, but now everybody's younger. You don't really have the grown up. You've just got these 3 young stages and these 2, and then they go through the gates. So this is the Whore of Babylon and Leo the lion, now as Leo falls onto the descendant. Virgo rises, rising of La Marianne, and they run through the gates. Where's through the gates? We've got the pillars, the Greek pillars, and the green, and there's a bit where they run through the gates. So another video of hers. Ring a Ring of Roses. It's from this album. This is her son now who plays in this, and we've got him playing with a look-alike. It's all in London. The filming is in London. The Black Plague, Ring a Ring of Roses, and you've got this girl Mia Farrow look-alike from Rosemary's Babies. You've got Rose and Mary. So this is, you know, the opening now of, as Pluto enters Capricorn, the activation of the Rosemary Baby generation. So there, Mia Farrow look-alike. Mia Farrow, and you wait till you see the name. Mia Farrow, Maria de Lourdes Villiers, Mia Farrow. So Farrow is a play on the Pharaohs, is an American actress. She first gained notice for her role as Alison in Peyton Place. There's your PP again, always. Plumber's Point, Petit Prince, Prince Philip, Peter Pan. And she was married to Frank Sinatra, so she played images in An American in Paris, with very much the Beauty and the Beast again, the American girl with the French man. So she... American in Mia Farrow, American in Paris. And she has that very short hair like in Rosemary's Baby, like we see in that video. So all this connection between her husband, who does all the films, what was her husband called? Here he is, Woody Allen. Connection in Paris. It's always Paris, Texas, Paris. And there's a famous film in France called Un nous les petites Anglaises. And the English girls are ours. So it's a very famous comedy where French boys going to visit in England. It's meant to be funny, but it's very, very symbolic. St. Trinians, the rising of these girls. The famous picture of Gainsbourg with his daughter, Charlotte. So, you know, there was all that pedophile energy, but they never mention it, the girls. This is why she's so respected. Jane Birkin, she really was a beautiful icon. I think that, when you're unconscious and young, you don't realize what you're playing. She would have worked it out later in her life. She lost her daughter. She would have paid a very heavy price, but she knows it's all a show. So there's written 151, 7, and you've got him at the head of the rolls, and she's at her knees, and she's just showing that last bent elbow, always that V. It's got the hidden hand. He's showing just Mars, and then we've got, he's hiding, he's got Saturn, he's got Jupiter, Sun and Mercury. Jupiter, Sun, Mercury and Mars. Always showing that angle again. Ring a Roses, the plague. And they always have the ritualistic bath, and on the seashore, on the sea line, the beds, and London. And she is the mother singing. This is the mother, very androgynous always. She's got love-hate on her hands. I think that we'll end here, or no, I've just got to cover this last post. So it's not, I read that to you. So there's the black moon we had on the 17th. Solomon, we're about to have Venus do this. My son-in-law brother went when the sun was right here. At the same time, the BBC had called me about the model of my mother, Bambi, just as in Bambi loses the mother and the stag, Instagram, Saint Martin de Tours kills Saint Saturnin, Saturn. This is the time as Saturn is retrograde opposite. The lion lies down with the lamb. We're going to go through those days of temptation. And this is the black moon, the story of my beautiful son-in-law and his brother, and what they've done in this mythological story, so that we can all remember our fifth element. We remember this game that we're in. And, this is what I do for everybody. I see everybody's stories, lives within the bigger picture. That's what I'm doing as an astrologer. And it's impossible to get stuck in that conspiracy energy that I was in for so many years. I never look at people and think they're a man, they're a woman. I get it now. I got past it. I'm out the other side. You're completely safe when you have that central position, have that 360-degree view. You get through this keyhole between the bottom chakra, the top chakra, at Pisces, the story of the fisherman and the genie. So there she is, 76, 7. When the lamb broke the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. That's 30 minutes, Saturn. 6, we're going back under the belt, backwards, the seal. 6 is also the 9. I said there was the ovation for Killers of the Flower Moon, 9. And 7 minutes for Jean de Barry, the same name as her first husband, the man who composed all the James Bond music. And this, The Fisherman and the Genie, is the second top-level story told by Scheherazade in one of the 1001 Nights. So always 1898, that's like... Yeah, but there's always those numbers. René Bull illustration. So this is the story. He lets out the genie, then tricks him back into the pot. There's the pot. The pot is just the umbilica. It is that alchemical pot. The spirit is now released. Are you going to bargain with the genie? Is it about doing what what he says to get more fish? Or is it about, I've been watching these girls swimming with sharks. You have to turn around, face the shark, and put your hand on its nose and push it in the other direction, running your hand along its spine. I mean, I would just flap and make so much splashing noise that, but you can't. In that situation, you have to turn and face your shadow, the genie, and you have to meet it halfway. You have to meet the beast halfway. We can't stop the transgender agenda. We can't stop what is happening to our children because we're in an alchemical pot. And although we can help them make the right decisions, we're walking into a brave new world. I never forget I had my last relationship with a man called Wood, which was all the connection of the East Indian Company again, the same as with Henry Cotton and Mary Ryan. Mary Ryan went to live in India. She was known as the Madonna. And Henry Cotton, I've read his books. They really were trying to help us see. They didn't have conspiracy theorists in those days. They just had people trying to write books or explain things, just as Nathaniel Cotton wrote. He was the same time as Shakespeare, and he wrote that wonderful book Visions in Verse, and the first poem is called The Fireside, and it's an ode to Chloe about the new virgin land, and Chloe is in the virgin land in Australia, New Zealand. That's where the pots come up. The genie has come out. That is what we're looking at here. The news 7. This pot has come up in Australia. They don't have snakes. They don't have foxes. They are bringing in the evil spirit into the virgin lands. And it's for what's happening to our children. Our children are getting taken over. So, but trust the souls of your children. They're very, very strong. They find out and learn things much faster than we did. Narcissism and covert narcissists nobody knew about it when I was going through my first divorce and finding out that and then it wasn't until I was 15, my Chiron return, that I really got that I had just lived that all my life and I couldn't distinguish. And I needed to live, and this is what's helped me in my astrology. I understand my chart and why, and the people playing the characters of my planets to help me use them in the best way. Saturn will he's ruthless, the 7th seal. He's ruthless. So you can read that, go and read, look it up yourself, The Fisherman. And this is at Fomalhaut. This is that passage between Pisces. That star is between Pisces and Aquarius. 777007. Aleister Crowley, The Lesser Key. And so I just added some more pictures. You saw these the last time, but then I added. So this is the High Priestess's chair, but now we've got the Magician, Gemini, Merlin and Arthur, the twin 7-year-old, 7-7. She died on the 16th of the 7th, which is I showed you the Seine, the river, and the Eiffel Tower between the 16th and the 7th. So we're going to have the closing that was 2017. That's when all these first albums came out, the Reset album of Charlotte Gainsbourg. Then I saw When the Lamb Broke one of the 7 seals, and I heard one of the 4 living creatures saying as with a voice of thunder, "Come," meeting the genie. Tower and the High Priestess together. The tower is your temple. It is you. The gate, Boaz and Jacqueline. She's on the telephone, hanging on the BT telephone. just makes the crescent moon. It's the LGBT, liberty, glory. This person talking about Jane Birkin. And there you've got the 5-pointed star. This is the connection. It's the Moroccan star. The boy Ryan died at 5 years old. 5 people just submerged in the Titan. And my village is that 5-pointed star. Emil 32290. The 5-pointed star, and we just had for the solstice Aveyron, Bergerelle, AB completely destroyed the woods, and Aignan is the heart, and Formenta is a fort on the top of a hill, which for me is Fomerholt. Domaine Saint-Barth, this. Carchette, so there's the cowboy city, Carchette city. Formentas. That's it there. It's Fomerholt. So it's very touching. Cannes, the Cannes Film Festival. Charlotte had done a documentary 2 years ago, Un film pour dire que je t'aime, to say I love you, a documentary on her mother, and the mother is always very grounded, and she's very respected and loved, and she's just saying how difficult it is to watch people watching you, going into her personal life, and very brave. And there was another documentary about Jane Charlotte interview. Not sure I can find all the things I've opened. Oh yeah, so this is very important. She's done this interview since the death.
Peut-être parce que dès sa naissance, sa vie avec ses parents, Jane et Serge, a été rendue publique. Depuis son enfance, Charlotte Gainsbourg est confrontée à l'impudeur des médias et du public.
So the impudence, the opposite of being prude, being violated. So she was always very shy. This image of Jane and how he's holding Charlotte, but she's bringing up the other sides of her mother as well. Les Imparfaits to Jane Birkin. So she has the bulldog. So I speak exactly like she does. People have said to me all my life, because she was always criticised for keeping her accent, but we don't do it on purpose. It's just because we're English and we speak like that. So she really is this very androgynous energy of what her chart gives us. Look at the very last image that we're given the last time she was seen. This is another documentary that I wanted to show you, just a clip. She's talking about them going back with her mother in the documentary to, this is the famous house that she was brought up in with Jane and Gainsbourg in Rue Verveine. This is in the 7th arrondissement in Paris. And all this area, I have so many personal memories. I'm not going to go into just how big all my memories and the connections are, because I try to just keep it to. But so they kept this house, so she has not come back since 30 years. Apparently, that's what they say. So you walk in, you see this is kept as a museum. So there's Brigitte Bardot straight away, BB shown. And then there's also Barbara shown. I've been playing you the music of Barbara there. That's Barbara. That's Barbara. The Barbara, the Barbers. Barbara, the Black Eagle. I've been playing you her song. And I showed this in a couple of videos back. The Black Eagle, which is very much like the Pink Floyd, the Wall. The piano is always the pi anus, the anus going through the eagle, alta. And it's about this black cape that comes. I fell asleep when suddenly it seemed to pierce the sky. And coming out of nowhere appeared a black eagle. So blackout, slowly with spreading wings, all the Black Death, you know, the Black Plague, rosy ring of roses. I saw it twirling near me, rustling. So there was also something about this pot. Talking about a chemical substance, something coming out. That was on Facebook, somebody was saying. Finish these pictures that we were looking at. So there. The pictures. I remember this Palm Beach, this Damien Hirst sculpture was knocked over by a Rolls Royce. Palm Beach, Paddington Bear, and in Tauranga it's Bay of Plenty, BP, PB, Paddy Bear, lead, element. So that is from lead to gold, the Mars Saturn journey. You know, if you don't make it, Saturn is the stone turned to stone. Saturn is on Fomalhaut, opposite Leo and Cancer, and so Aquarius and Capricorn. Saturn in Aquarius, he rules both. Go back to right now. Saturn on Fomalhaut, opposite Mars, and they are currently the two planets, Mars to Saturn, which make this Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, this journey from Mars and the opposition and Venus, our hearts, to test us. So right now, today, that is right now, we got the moon, bang for this video, in between Solomon, that might be Jane with us. And, you know, this really is the English rose. Okay, anything else? Yeah, we did that in the last video. We'll end here. 21st, the sun goes into Cancer. That's 777 again. And the moon will still be in Leo, where the moon was for the falling of Notre Dame. It will be right there with Venus as Venus gets ready to go retrograde on the 20th. So, darlings, I love you very much. I have a feeling that I'm going to be putting this video onto my site and renting it. I don't think I want to put it onto YouTube. This video is only for those who can really get all these, joining these dots. And yeah, it's just for you guys. And I love you very much. And you can go ahead and book readings. And talk to you soon, darlings. Bye for now.